Here is something that should bother us more than it does. The average person today has access to more financial information than any generation in history. Banking apps, investment platforms, YouTube channels, podcasts, entire Reddit community dedicated to building wealth. And yet, most people still live paycheck to paycheck. Most people still retire without enough. Most people still wonder why wealth seems to happen to other people. So clearly, the problem isn't information. In 1926, a man named Georges Clason decided to answer this question. Not with spreadsheets or formulas, but with stories. Stories set in ancient Babylon, one of the wealthiest civilizations ever recorded. The richest man in Babylon is nearly 100 years old. And the reason it is still in print, still recommended by financial advisors, still showing up on reading lists is because it figured out something we still haven't fully accepted. The problem was never the information, it was always the behavior. Let's get into it. What if most complex ideas could be explained in minutes? That's exactly what we do here. I'm Jenkins and this is Gen Simplifies. Okay, before we get into the lessons, here's a quick glimpse of what makes this book different. The Richest Man in Babylon was written by George S. Clason in 1926. Interestingly, Clason wasn't an economist or a financial professor. He was a businessman. He started writing short pamphlets about money and distributed them through banks and insurance companies to help ordinary people improve their financial habits. Those individual stories were later collected into the book we know today. And he chose Babylon for a reason. Around 4,000 years ago, Babylon was one of the wealthiest cities in the ancient world. It had trade routes, organized banking systems, business activities, and impressive engineering projects. In other words, these were not primitive people guessing at finance. They were running a sophisticated economy. Look, Classon's idea is simple. If people living 4,000 years ago understood certain principles of wealth, and we are still struggling with the same financial problems today, then perhaps the real issue is not technology. Perhaps human nature hasn't changed very much. The book revolves around one man called Arcad, the richest man in Babylon. And people kept asking him the same question: how did you become rich? His answers sound simple, but as we go through this video, you will notice something important. Simple and easy are not always the same thing. And since I am a teacher by nature, we'll take this one lesson at a time. So let's begin with first lesson. Lesson 1. Pay yourself first. Arcad's most famous lesson can be summarized in one sentence. A part of all you earn is yours to keep. Simple. But surprisingly, it's difficult because most people handle money like this. Salary comes in, bills go out, we pay for groceries, fuels, EMIs, subscription, and some money for a few things we wanted to buy. And then, if there is anything left, we save it. The problem is, most months there isn't much left. Not necessarily because people earn too little, but because expenses have a habit of expanding to match our income. Arcade says we should reverse the order. Instead of saving what's left after spending, save first and then live on the rest. He recommended keeping at least 10% of every income before spending anything else. And honestly, this is where many people struggle. Not because they disagree with the idea, but because saving doesn't feel exciting. When you buy something new, you immediately feel the reward. A new phone, a new dress, a nice dinner outside, all these things feels good, right? But when you transfer money into savings, nothing dramatic happens. No applause, no instant transformation, just a small amount sitting quietly there. And that's exactly why many people don't take it seriously. But wealth is rarely built through excitement. It's usually built quietly, small habits, repeated consistently, long before anyone notices the results. You don't need a huge amount to start. You don't need a perfect investment strategy. You just need the habit because over time, habits become results. And once you've started keeping some of your money, the next challenge becomes even harder. Because lesson two isn't about earning more, it's about controlling what leaves your pocket. So, lesson two, control your expenses. Now comes a lesson that can feel a little uncomfortable. Because most of us believe a financial problem would disappear if we simply earned more money. And honestly, I have thought that way too. We tell ourselves, if I just got a better job, if I just received a salary increase, if I just earned a little more, everything would finally become easier. But Clason makes an interesting observation here. Our desires always tend to grow faster than our income. Think about what usually happens. When someone starts earning more, at first they feel relieved, but slowly new expenses appear. A better phone, a better vehicle, a bigger EMI, more subscriptions, more things that suddenly feel necessary. And before long, the extra income disappears. Pressure returns just wearing different clothes. The book is not saying you should stop enjoying life. That's not the point. Klassen is simply asking us to distinguish between two things, needs and desires. But over time, many desires begin to disguise themselves as needs. And once everything feels essential, it becomes almost impossible to build wealth. I think the real message here is intentional living. Not spending less for the sake of suffering, not cutting every small joy from life, but making sure your money is actually helping you build the life you want. Because if your money is always reacting to impulse, comparison, or convenience, then your future will keep getting postponed. That's why budgeting matters. Not because a budget makes life boring, but because a budget gives your money a direction. If you don't decide where your money goes, your money will decide it for you. And it rarely chooses your future. So now we have done two things. We have kept some money, we have controlled our expenses, which naturally leads to the next question. What should we do with the money we have managed to save? So there's where lesson 3 comes in. Lesson 3, make your money work for you. Saving money is important, but according to Arcot, saving alone isn't enough because money that simply sits there has limited potential. His idea was simple, your money should become your servant. In modern terms, we would call that investing. It could be mutual funds, stocks, real estate, a business, or any asset that has the potential to grow and generate income over time. Because if you only work for money, your income depends entirely on your time and energy. And the moment you stop working, the income stops too. But when your money starts working alongside you, something changes. Your efforts begin to multiply. And over long periods of time, that multiplication becomes powerful. And that's the beauty of compounding. Returns generating more returns. Slowly at first, then more visibly, not overnight, not dramatically, but steadily. And personally, this lesson resonates with me. Because when I think about my own life, I realize that assets don't always have to look the same. For example, I have a property back home. The challenge isn't simply owning it, the challenge is learning how to make it productive. This YouTube channel is another example. A video created today might continue helping people and perhaps generate income years from now. The effort is made once, but the value can continue long after. And that's really the lesson. Not getting rich quickly, not chasing shortcuts, but gradually building things that continue working even when you are not actively working. But once you have started building wealth, there's something else you need to learn. Because making money is difficult, but losing it can happen surprisingly fast. And that's exactly what lesson 4 is about. Lesson 4: protect your money. One thing I appreciate most about this book is that it repeatedly reminds us of something many people forget. Making money and keeping money are two different skills. Because throughout history, people have always been tempted by shortcuts. And not much has changed today. Every day we hear promises like guaranteed returns, double your money, zero risk, limited time opportunities, and sometimes the people making the promises sound extremely confident. But confidence and competence are not the same thing, and confusing the two can be expensive. There's a story in the book that illustrates this beautifully. A man entrusted his saving to someone who planned to buy jewels in another country. The problem? The person knew nothing about jewels. The investment failed. And Arkad's response was almost humorous. Why would you ask a brickmaker to judge precious stones? You wouldn't ask a baker to perform surgery. And you probably wouldn't ask a mechanic for legal advice. So, why would we trust financial advice from people who don't truly understand what they're talking about? I think this lesson is even more relevant today because information spreads faster than ever. Opinion spread faster than fact, and sometimes excitement spreads faster than wisdom. The practical takeaway is simple. Before putting money into anything, understand what you are investing in. And if you don't understand it well enough to explain in simple language, that's usually a sign to slow down, not to speed up. Now we have learned how to earn, how to save, how to grow and protect wealth. But Clason leaves us with one final lesson, and personally, this became my favorite lesson in this entire book. Lesson 5: invest in your ability to earn. The fifth lesson is not only about money, it's about the person who earns the money. Arcot teaches that one of the greatest investment a person can make is in their own ability to earn. In simple words, improve yourself, improve your skills, improve your knowledge, improve your judgment, improve the value you give to others. Because your income is always connected to the value you were able to create. And that value can grow. We think investment only means putting money into stocks, land, gold, or a business. But sometimes the best investment is a skill that can change the direction of your life. A course, a book, a language, a technical skill, a communication skill, a habit of learning. These things may not look like assets at first. You cannot always show them on a balance sheet, but they can open doors that money alone cannot open. And this lesson personally connects with me. My background is visual communication. Then I spent many years as a teacher simplifying ideas for students in classrooms. For a long time, those things may have looked like separate parts of my life: visual communication on one side, teaching on another side, content creation somewhere else. But now, when I look at what I am building through Gen Simplifies, I realize something. Those skills were not wasted, they were compounding quietly. The ability to explain, the ability to structure ideas, the ability to communicate visually, the ability to speak to ordinary people without making them feel small. All of that matters. And maybe that's true for you too. Maybe you already have skills that you're not fully using. Maybe your experience, your education, or even your struggles can become part of your earning ability, but only if you keep developing them. That's why this lesson is powerful. Money can be lost, markets can go down, businesses can fail, but a skill you truly build stays with you. And when one door closes, the skill can help you find another one. So don't only ask how I can earn more money. Ask better question. How can I become more useful? How can I become more skillful? How can I create more value? Because when your ability grows, your opportunities usually grow with it. That doesn't mean success is automatic. It doesn't mean life becomes easy. But it means you're no longer standing still. And that itself is a form of wealth. So, when we bring all five lessons together, the message of the richest man in Babylon is surprisingly simple. Keep a part of what you earn, control what you spend, put your money to work, protect what you build, and keep improving your ability to earn. None of these ideas are complicated. You don't need a finance degree to understand them. You don't need to be an expert in economics. And that's exactly the point. The people of ancient Babylon did not have banking apps. They didn't have YouTube channels. They didn't have online calculators. But some of them still understood the basic habit that built wealth. And we, with all our modern tools, often struggle with the same things because the real battle is not always outside. It's not always the economy, it's not always the salary, it's not always the lack of information. Very often, the battle is behavior. Can we save before we spend? Can we delay a desire? Can we avoid shortcuts that looks attractive? Can we keep learning even when nobody is watching? Can we repeat a simple habit long enough for it to become visible? That is where wealth is built or lost. Not in one dramatic decision, but in small choices repeated over time. A decision to keep a little, a decision to spend with intention, a decision to invest carefully, a decision to protect what you have, a decision to become a better you. The richest man in Babylon may be an old book, but the reason it still works is simple. Money has changed, the world has changed, but human nature has not changed as much as we think. And that is why these lessons still matter. So, those are the five lessons from The Richest Man in Babylon by George S. Clason. If you found this useful, consider subscribing to Gen Simplifies. I'll be breaking down more powerful books, ideas, and life lessons in a way that is simple, practical, and easy to apply. If you want to read this book yourself, I've added the link to The Richest Man in Babylon in the description. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one.